everyone, class is very much in session. My name is Jack from Cultaholic.com and it's time to take a look at WWE Evolution, the first ever all-women's pay-per-view. What an event it was. It was notable for various reasons, but was it good or was it bad? Well, let's take a look and let's find out as we go segment by segment, match by match, and break down every single thing and assign it a lovely little grade. This is WWE Evolution Graded. So after the pre-show and the preamble and all the video packages and everything that really hammered home the fact that this is a historic night for women's wrestling, which it certainly is, to be fair, we had the first match of the evening, which was Trish Stratus and Lita versus Alicia Fox and Mickie James. So the first thing that I noticed, and I think the first thing that a lot of people noticed when watching the show, was that the crowd in Long Island were really hot. They were really hot for a night of wrestling action, and it was really good to see, considering the kind of controversial build to Evolution and the fact that a lot of people thought maybe WWE hadn't really given it the proper attention that it deserved. Now it seemed as though the crowd were fully invested and fully behind all the wrestlers on the show, so that was great to see. Case in point, when Trish Stratus' music hit to start the show, how big was that pop? It was bloody massive. If I was there live, I'd have done a little bit of that. Then once the babyfaces were in the ring, we got Alexa Bliss coming out. Now she is injured, as it was announced earlier this week, and was sadly unable to compete at Evolution. And I think she was one of the biggest misses on the card, considering how much she deserves recognition for being one of the most charismatic wrestlers out there. She's great, and she's always improving in the ring too. But she cut a nice heel promo, running down the babyfaces and saying, now you're about to feel the wrath. She didn't say that, but now you're about to get beaten up by my friends Mickie James and the beautiful Alicia Fox. The only problem is, and I have to be brutally honest here, as exciting and significant an event as this was, I don't think it got off to the greatest of start. I didn't enjoy this match. I thought there were a lot of little miscommunications and a few little timing errors. One timing error that was particularly glaring, I think you know the one I mean. It was the one where Trish Stratus hit Stratusfaction and then Alicia Fox was very late to break up the pinfall. The referee saw went 1, 2, and then Alicia Fox got in and broke up the pin. They showed a replay of it after the match as well from a different angle that made it look even worse. Oh, it was one of the low points of the show, that spot. But I think something that we all learned here was that Trish looks really good in the ring still, and Mickie James is still really good, as we all knew anyway. But I feel like Alicia Fox was a little bit ragged, and I think that also Lita kind of hasn't maintain the same level of ability in the ring that Trish has. And I guess it's just one of those things that affects all wrestlers differently as they get older. Some manage to keep a lot of their ability, like Ricky Steamboat style. Some really don't that well. But Lita still did her job. She still managed to hit that moonsault on both opponents this time. Alexa Bliss got involved for one nice spot as well when the referee's back was turned. And it was decent. The finish came after Lita hit that moonsault on both opponents. Then Trish Stratus hit the chick kick and picked up the big feel-good babyface victory to kick off the show. Honestly, this feels like a pretty brutal grade I'm giving this. And the show did pick up from here, I must point out, but I'm going to give this a C-. I just feel like it was quite sloppy in points. There were a lot of little ragged errors, but it was saved from a lower grade by a really hot crowd and by the good work of Trish and Mickie. At one point, in fact, one of the best moments of the match was when Trish and Mickie got in the ring for the first time and faced each other, and everyone was remembered of their great rivalry. And given how good both still look in the ring, you can sort of see why that rivalry was one of the best in the history of women's wrestling back in the day when it happened. So, not the best start to the show, but things would pick up in a big way. Next up, the 20-woman Battle Royal for a title shot in the future. Now, this was one of the more controversial matches before Evolution, given the fact that everyone seemed to think, you know, a lot of these women deserve a lot more than being shoved into this Battle Royal. People like Asuka, Ember Moon, Naomi, Nia Jax, those sort of people. They were all in this match, mixed in with some veterans, the likes of Toni Wilson, Kelly, Michelle McCool, Ivory, it was great to see her, Molly Holly, all kinds of faces were in this match. And it was, you know what, to be fair, this year has been pretty good for Battle Royals. 2018 has been the resurgence of the Battle Royal. I said after this match on Twitter that this is the third great Battle Royal I can remember in just the past few months, obviously alongside the All-In pre-show Battle Royal, which was excellent, and also the one at the pre-show of Progress's Wembley event too. I like that everyone got their own entrances, even though they were kind of cut short to get everyone out in time, but I thought that was a really good shout. I always hated in Battle Royals where there's just a big cavalcade of wrestlers coming down without any real fanfare placed on some who perhaps deserve it. So I'm glad that everyone got their own individual entrances. The Iconics came out last, and cut a heel promo on the older women in the match and said, right, well, you know, enjoy these last few seconds in the spotlight because after this you're going back to obscurity. And Alundra Blaze looked genuinely pissed off, like she looked like she wanted to kill them, and looked like she could kill them also. So then the match began, and the Iconics were eliminated straight away to a big pop by all the veterans who all teamed up to get them out of the ring. Then we had a nice past versus present standoff, then the match began properly, and then Absolution, or the duo formerly known as Absolution, began to take over. Sonya Deville and Mandy Rose were teaming up to eliminate several wrestlers. I was gutted to see Molly Holly eliminated so early. If there's one thing I could change about this match, it would be to have Molly last a little bit longer. They were on a bit of a roll. They got rid of Kelly Kelly and Tori Wilson, and then Mandy Rose eliminated Sonya Deville, and it was sold really well. Sonya looked annoyed. Mandy looked like, oh, sorry, gotta do what I gotta do. She didn't last much longer in the match, in fairness. Karma came to get her, but it was a big shocking moment, and I hope this is a storyline that carries on to SmackDown. I hope that Paige sends them to therapy so that they stay friends. Still pissed off about a Sasha and Bayley angle. Another really nice moment was when Tamina Snuka and Nia Jax faced off against each other. Looked like they were about to fight, and then they both went, ooh, ah, they both did the Roman Reigns thing, because obviously they're both Samoan as well, and I think are both related to him. I'm not positive on that, but I think so. And then they both sort of ran wild for a little bit, and then fought one another. I think they eliminated Lana as well for trying to get involved and be like, stop, Lana is the best. Everyone had their own little spotlight moment in this match, which I really enjoyed. Carmella did a dance break, of course, which Ivory joined in on. How great does Ivory look, by the way? She can still move around for a woman of her age. She's fantastic. I love Ivory from back in like the Right to Censor days and everything, and she got a nice "you still got it" chant during the match, and it was really nice to see. Another huge moment saw Ember Moon eliminate Asuka. Shockingly, it was a massive moment, and a lot of people thought, how do they get Asuka out of this match without making her look too weak? And I think the fact that Ember eliminated her was really good, considering Asuka always had her number in NXT, but Ember was always the woman who pushed her closest to defeat. I think that tied in nicely. Asuka looked shocked, Ember looked really intense, it was cool. Came down finally to Ember versus Nia, but then Zelina Vega pulled a bit of a Santino Marella. She sneaked back into the ring, tried to eliminate them both, didn't actually manage to, and got herself eliminated. But that was a nice little moment as well, classic sort of sneaky heel tactics. Then Ember Moon and Nia Jax had a nice little mini match between themselves, and then Nia Jax won. And I was really confused because I thought, you know what, title match, Ember Moon's on the rise, or should be on the rise. Surely she will win and get this title opportunity, in theory against Ronda Rousey, should she do what we all think and win later on in the night. But it was Nia Jax who won, and it was a lovely moment for Nia, and she deserves it, and she was very emotional after the match. But I just would have rather seen Ember win. I just thought that would have made a little bit more sense, especially since we had Nia versus Ronda so recently as well. On the whole, despite not totally agreeing with the winner, I'm going to give this Battle Royal a B+. It was much better than I expected it to be. I was really impressed. I enjoyed it a lot. It was just a fun match. Everyone had their own little spotlight moments, and there was all the little things that make a Battle Royal good. There was a little bit of comedy, there was spotlight little moments featuring various different stars, and it all got a little bit more intense and serious down the stretch. So no major complaints here at all. I enjoyed it. Next up, the final of the Mae Young Classic 2018, Toni Storm versus Io Shirai. And from the moment this match began, you could just tell that these two women are on a different level. They are two of the best wrestlers in the world, and it really showed. Some of the best moments in this match were, apart from like the opening, which was really speedy and like agile, and both women countered each other a lot and it looked really fluid, there was also Io Shirai's massive moonsault to the outside. There was Toni Storm giving Io Shirai a German suplex on the apron, which, lest we forget, write in your notebooks, is the hardest part of the ring. I think my favorite move of the match was Io Shirai's amazing springboard sunset flip, which sort of defied gravity a little bit, it looked like. She's amazing. Io Shirai is one of the best in the world. She's fantastic. But Toni Storm managed to kick out. She hit Strong Zero, or Storm Zero, I think it's now called, which Io Shirai kicked out of. Then Io went for the moonsault again. Toni caught her with the knees, hit her with Storm Zero, and pinned her to win the Mae Young Classic. It was a great moment for Toni Storm. Just rewards for how excellent she's been over the past couple of years on the independent scene. And really, like, it was a nice moment as well, considering that she got to the semi-finals last year only to lose, and now she's done it. She's gone all the way and she's won the tournament. I'm gonna give this an A-. Now, this could easily have been an A or even an A+, given a bit more time, because it was just that good. You could tell that both women are wrestlers of such quality, but unfortunately, this was a match that needed more time. I think it only felt like it went about 10 minutes or so, and I think it probably did. And it really was a match that deserved to go 15 minutes, if not a little bit longer. Both women clearly had plenty left in the tank. They were still moving at a high pace throughout. And if there was any match on the show I'd have liked to see and given more time, maybe cut out that weird little rock concert at the beginning, this would have been it. But still, I'll give it an A-. It was really good stuff, and it was nice to see as well some of the Mae Young Classic competitors in the crowd, particularly Tegan Nox, who of course was injured during the tournament. Hopefully she can recover very quickly indeed. But again, I'm giving it an A-. I thought it was really, really good stuff, and it was nice to see some of the other Mae Young Classic competitors in the front row as well, particularly Tegan Nox, who of course was injured midway through the tournament, and as always, we wish her a very speedy recovery. Moving on now to one of my least anticipated matches of the show, it has to be said beforehand. This was Bayley, Sasha and Natalya against the Riott Squad. Another match that kind of just felt a little bit like filler, a little bit thrown together, and a major reason for all the sort of angst and complaints in the build-up to the show. A lot of which was justified, to be fair, because when you look at women, especially like Sasha, Bayley and Natalya, they're three key figures in the women's revolution, and to see them in a 6-woman tag team match was a little bit annoying. But to be honest with you, all 6 women came out with something to prove in this match, turning this match from one of the less anticipated moments of the show to one of the best moments of the show. This match was excellent to a surprising degree. Like, Liv Morgan has improved so much. The whole Riott Squad as a unit have improved so much. They worked as a team so well throughout this match. Their timing is really getting on point and is improving match on match. And it was really the highlight of the bout for me, the teamwork that all 3 of the heels displayed. It was really good stuff. There was a few little moments verging on sort of like the Revival style of like distracting the ref, you do this, quick tags, sneaky blind tags, that sort of thing. All just worked seamlessly into the match. It was really, really impressive. The Riott Squad kind of dominated this match until it came time for Ruby Riott to deliver her back senton from the top rope. And then Bayley lay across Sasha to protect her from the blow. Really cool moment, playing on their friendship and their history and everything. And then Sasha Banks was like the resilient babyface fighting alone against these 3 heels, trying to survive until her teammates could recover. The babyfaces came back. I think it was Natalya who turned the tide, especially with that double sharpshooter, which for a second I thought she wasn't going to be able to get on, but she did manage to get it. Then Bayley hit the big elbow drop on Liv Morgan, Sasha with the frog splash, and that led to the victory. I'm giving this match an A-, and I was shocked and pleasantly surprised at just how fantastic it was. It was really, really good. Once again, it bears repeating that these women should have probably had more of a spotlight on the show. I know it's difficult to fit everyone in, but especially, personally for me, Bayley and Sasha really would have maybe deserved to wrestle each other on the show if their feud had gone down as it should have done. But at the same time, they all came out with something to prove in this match, including the Riott Squad too, and it was really, really good. I really enjoyed this one. Next up, keeping the quality of matches high, this is where the show really started to pick up. We had the NXT Women's Championship match between Kairi Sane, the champion, and the challenger, Shayna Baszler. This match built really nicely, and you know how I said that Toni Storm versus Io Shirai perhaps deserved a little bit more time? I think that this match was given enough time to really develop into a nice tale between a classic heel and a classic babyface. We've really got a sense that both of these women know each other's game by this point, especially because they met obviously in last year's Mae Young Classic final. They've had a match for the NXT Women's Championship before when Kairi Sane won it from Shayna Baszler, and by this point there were lots of counters and scouting and that sort of thing, and it was really cool to see. Shayna Baszler, by the way, the story of much of this match was her being hideous and doing hideous things to the arm of Kairi Sane, who sold it all superbly. Shayna looked really sadistic, bending the arm, stomping on it, hoisting at one point Kairi Sane just by the arm from the turnbuckle. It was brutal. It looked really cool. Then Kairi Sane, in one of my favourite moments of the night, went for the elbow drop, but Shayna rolled to the outside, so Kairi sort of looked at her on the outside and just launched herself into a massive crossbody. It was really good stuff. I love Kairi Sane. I think she's fantastic. And Shayna Baszler as well is another one of those wrestlers who just seems to improve every time you see her. Then the moment that divided a lot of opinion. I saw various different things floating around online as this happened on Twitter, but I actually liked it, to be fair. Basically what happened was Kairi Sane backdropped Shayna Baszler into the front row where the 4 horsewomen, or the 2 horsewomen of MMA, happened to be sat. Ronda was elsewhere getting ready for her match, obviously. But then Jessamine Duke got involved and Kairi Sane back-fisted her and she fell into the ringside area. Then Kairi got on the apron, and I think Shafir got involved as well, tried to stop her, and she got a back fist too. And the ref missed all this kind of. Then Kairi Sane got on the top rope, and eventually it was Jessamine Duke who managed to get involved and turn the tide in the favour of Shayna Baszler. So a bit later on, after Kairi had missed the big elbow drop, she ran into the ropes, Jessamine Duke kicked her in the head, she came back, and Shayna Baszler clamped on that rear naked choke. It's got a name that I can't quite remember right now. Give me a second, as I just get my phone out. So then Shayna got on the Kirifuda clutch, and won the match as Kairi Sane passed out, and now Shayna Baszler is once again the NXT Women's Champion. I thought this was great. I'm going to give this match an A. It was my favourite thing on the show up until this point. I thought both women played it perfectly, and I didn't even mind the screwy finish, because I think at some point we do need to get the whole 4 Horsewomen of MMA thing more directly involved. And as long as this interference doesn't happen in each and every Shayna Baszler match, I'm fine with it. This was just the first time that it happened, and it made sense because Shayna ended up being knocked into the front row and they became involved in the match rather than them jumping the barricade directly. So I think it's fine. I think it all worked, and I'm sad that Kairi's reign's over, but I can see why they did this. So yeah, it gets an A from me. I love the match. Next up, wow, here we go. Oh man, the match that everyone has been talking about since it happened because it was class. Becky Lynch versus Charlotte Flair for the SmackDown Women's Championship Last Woman Standing rules. The first ever Last Woman Standing match in WWE. The hatred in this match was palpable. It was amazing. And honestly, as much as I think, yes, the dynamic in this is reversed, this feud, Charlotte should be the heel, Becky should be the babyface. Becky is so good at being a heel, and Charlotte's great at being a babyface. It's just that the crowd aren't behind her because of how she's booked, but she really looked heroic at many points in this match, as much as Becky looked like a dastardly, despicable, yet very charismatic heel at the same time. This match was given a lot of time and was paced and built perfectly throughout, with spots escalating and escalating as it went on, and each woman becoming closer and closer to losing the match before just making it to their feet in time. There was, it reminded me a lot actually of Dean Ambrose versus Kevin Owens from the 2016 Royal Rumble. They had a really good last man standing match to open that show, I think, and that again was paced really well. This match started off with kendo sticks, and then there was the whole throw all the chairs in the ring and hit moves on each other onto the chairs. At one point, Charlotte got a ladder out, put on the figure 4 in the ladder, bridged into the figure 8, and then Becky had to break it with the chair, and the ref had to sort of nudge it a little bit closer to her. That was a little bit of a moment, but they were few and far between in this match. A lot of people had issue with Mike Chioda's counting, actually. At various points, Charlotte maybe should have lost because she only made it to her knees or whatever, but he kind of let that slide and didn't quite reach the 10 count, and I can forgive those little slips or those little technicalities, just because I think that, you know, the way the match was, it all kind of worked in helping it feel frantic and the hatred and everything. In fact, the one that I'm thinking of, when Charlotte made it to her knees, he actually stopped the count because she yelled at Becky. She looked up and yelled at her, and he sort of decided, I guess, in kayfabe, oh, she's still ready to go. It all kind of made sense for me if you give it a little bit of leeway. But the positives in this match clearly outweigh the negatives, especially, I mean, at one point, Charlotte went for a moonsault on Becky on a table, and the table didn't break. Thank you, Matthew, for that, Botchamania. And I normally hate when that happens and then they repeat the spot exactly, but I didn't mind it here because Charlotte changed it slightly. She put Becky back on the table and hit a swanton bomb like Jeff Hardy. It was awesome. Who knew that Charlotte could do an awesome swanton? She did it, broke the table, and it was one of the highlight moments of the match. What else happened here? At one point, Becky tried to leave. She grabbed her belt and she left, and then Charlotte chased her down and brought her back to ringside. Becky leg dropped Charlotte off a ladder through the announce table. That was an insane spot. Then she buried her under all the debris, and then Charlotte emerged from the debris like a hero to beat the count. It was so good. The finish came when Becky powerbombed Charlotte. Becky was still on the apron, Charlotte was on the top rope, and she powerbombed her off the side through a table. It was brutal. You really saw Charlotte like jar and judder as she hit the floor. Fantastic stuff. Obviously, I hope she's okay because it did look painful. And she nearly made it to her feet for the 10 count, but couldn't quite make it. And the crowd came unglued for Becky, who is the heel in this match. But everyone loves her. She's one of the most over wrestlers in the world right now. Yes, I'm a little bit biased because she's one of my favorite wrestlers anyway, but she deserves every moment of this. This was fantastic. Now, initially, I was going to give this match an A, because of the little slips and because of Mike Chioda's counting being a little bit weird at times, and because of the, you know, nudging the chair towards Becky to help her break the figure 8 and little things like that. Then I thought, no, like I enjoyed this match so much even regardless of that. And the fact that it came on the first all-women show and was such a standout moment and was so significant and will hopefully be remembered as a very significant match in the history of women's wrestling, I really have no choice, I think, but to give this an A+. It was so good, and I can forgive those little slip-ups just because both women did such a good job, not only of doing the moves and taking the bumps, but in telling a story as well. So A+, loved it, and easily it was my favorite thing on the show, and I suspect probably your favorite thing as well, given the response I've seen. And finally, the main event, which after watching that Charlotte and Becky match, I wasn't convinced should have been the main event, but we had the Raw Women's Championship match, Nikki Bella challenging against the champion Ronda Rousey, with Brie lurking at ringside. And yeah, you know what, this match was a little bit of an anticlimax after that wonderful Charlotte-Becky match beforehand, but, you know, I think the thing I took away from this match was that Nikki Bella reminded us all that she can wrestle. She certainly can. They had to come up with a lot of excuses to portray Nikki as being on Ronda's level. Brie interfered to like a comical degree. I'm amazed that there was no spot at some point where the referee spotted her and went, "You're out of here," you know, the big wind-up thing that refs love to do, just because she interfered so much. At one point, though, it led to a really cool moment where Ronda had both of them on her shoulders, like John Cena, and then did the sort of spinny Samoan drop thing she does. She was judo throwing Nikki Bella around like nobody's business. It was really impressive at times, but you know, a lot of people obviously complained that Nikki shouldn't have got as much offense in as she did, and a lot of that was due to her sister's interference. Then towards the end of the match, Ronda actually dealt with Brie herself. She launched her over the announce table. I think she nearly clipped Renee Young. It was very close. Everyone went flying. Ronda got back in the ring. Nikki Bella scored a very nice near fall with the Rack Attack 2.0, and you know, we all predicted that Ronda would win, but that was a little bit of a moment where you were like, they wouldn't put it on Nikki, would they? Oh, here we go. Eventually though, Ronda won, making her tap out with the big armbar, and retained the show and ended it on a happy note. The crowd, I should point out, went absolutely wild for this finish. They love Ronda Rousey. I love Ronda Rousey. I think she's improved at a scary rate, but at the same time, Becky and Charlotte should have main evented. Come on now. I'm just saying. So this match gets a B+ from me. I had no major qualms with it. I know a lot of people didn't like the amount of offense that Nikki got in, but every single Ronda Rousey match can't be like a 1 minute, you know, squashing Alexa Bliss kind of thing. Sometimes she has to be undone by a little bit of sneakiness here and there, and that's what happened. And although it didn't blow the doors off or anything, I still thought it was a fine way to end the show. I thought it was fine. I thought it was fine. Now on to the overall grade. So overall, I'm going to give WWE Evolution an A. I thought it was a show that exceeded expectations, and yes, beforehand when you looked at the lineup, you could have thought this has enough in it to be a decent show, but I don't think many people actually realized just how good it would have been. Toni Storm versus Io Shirai was really good. Charlotte versus Becky was amazing. Kairi Sane versus Shayna Baszler was also very, very good indeed. Ronda and Nikki impressed, and that 6-woman match, I think, surprised a lot of people with just how good it was. And the Battle Royal was fun too. I love a fun Battle Royal, I love it. Yeah. To be honest, the only real negative I can think of on the show was the opening match, but at the same time, it was really nice from a nostalgic point of view to see Trish and Lita take on a pair of dastardly heels in Alicia Fox and Mickie James. So, you know what? From top to bottom, I think this is one of WWE's strongest shows of the year. Maybe not on the level of like an NXT TakeOver, which are some of the best WWE shows personally that I've ever seen. The 2018 TakeOvers have been amazing, but those aside, I can't think of much better that WWE have produced this year than Evolution. I thought it was a wonderful show. Watch that last woman standing match. It was so intense. So that's it from me. I've been Jack from Cultaholic.com. Thank you for watching WWE Evolution Graded. You can follow me on Twitter if you want to, at Jack the Jobber. You can follow all of us at Cultaholic in general. And if you want to as well, you can check out our Patreon, patreon.com/Cultaholic. And never forget, of course, if you haven't already, to hit that subscribe button and to join us.